I am going to introduce you to Gracia Pacheco, who has been working with the alumni of our LINK summer program and putting together this panel discussion. And I'm sorry, I did a really quick pivot. I just want to thank you again, Melissa, for all of your time in joining us today and for all the efforts and the work that you do. And now I am going to turn it over to Gracia.
Thank you, Janet. Hello, everybody. So my name is Gracia Pacheco, and I am the Youth and Education Programs Manager at OneTam. And I have the amazing opportunity and privilege to work with youth across Marin County. And today we have a youth panel for you. The students should be logging on shortly. Mikhail, are they? Oh, there we go. So I'll go ahead and introduce the students. We have 3 students from our LINK program. So LINK is one of our youth programs that we have in the summer. It's a 6-week summer immersive program where we have 20 participants join for the entire summer and work throughout the parks, learn about leadership, learn about habitat restoration, community science, and all the amazing work that we do at OneTam. So from that program, we have 3 of our youth participants. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Nate. And we have Summer coming on. There we go. Hi, Summer. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. How are y'all doing today?
Great.
Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're running a little late, but you all are just on time. So thank you so much for being on time. We have a series of questions that we want to engage you all in today and really hear your perspectives. But before we do that, I just want to have you introduce yourself. So if you can share your name, what school you're in, what grade you're in, preferred pronouns, and what LINK year you did.
Okay, so I'll start. My name's Ryan. I'm a junior at Tamalpais High School. My preferred pronouns are he, him, and I did LINK this year, so just a few months ago.
My name is Nate. I use he, him pronouns. I am a junior at High School 1327, formerly Sir Francis Drake High School, and I did LINK this summer with Ryan.
Hi, my name is Summer. I use the She, Her series. I graduated from TAM last year and I'm now a freshman at UC Berkeley, and I did LINK 2019.
Amazing. Thank you, team. So we have a series of questions. All these questions really just to get our youth perspectives and hear our voices from some of the, the folks that are taking a lot of the forefront of the issues that we're talking about. So the questions we have for you, we'll just go ahead and get started with the first one. In thinking about climate change and any climate-related issues, whether it's media or messages that we see on a daily, what is at the top of your mind right now?
Something that's on the top of my mind right now would definitely be the Californian wildfires. It's something that I see in the media, but also in the air quality around me, and more recently in the color of the sky, which is crazy. I think this year's fires especially have led to a lot more media attention and conversations about how important environmental management is and its impact on our communities and the potential that it has to affect people's way of life. I believe that this can give us a sense of urgency to protect the environment and to have knowledge and experiences guide our decisions for environmental conservation. Recently in politics, we have these politicians disregarding environmental concerns and the science behind them, and I think a lot of people follow what these politicians say. So I hope that the attention that the fires get in the media and the evidence around us makes people view environmental concerns as something personal and happening now, not something of the future.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for that perspective. We heard about fires, all about fires earlier today, so it's a really important point. Thank you.
All over the news, we see stories of massive natural disasters, pollution, COVID, and of course, what's being done about these things. What the media usually focuses on is the political aspects of climate change, especially in our current political climate. From fires to hurricanes to drought, we can see some of the effects of climate change right before us. But what's more is seeing the reaction and action in the political field. It's very concerning to see how some people in charge, like Ryan was saying, the people who make our decisions don't even believe in climate change. Relatably, something else very concerning was the 2020 political debate a few nights ago, the first one. The polar differences of the candidates and their views on climate change. It was so concerning, and the decision in a month could very well determine our future for much longer than 4 years. Also, to me, it was just very bad representation of what a mess the system is right now and how exceptionally important it is to clean it up.
Thank you so much, Nate. That is definitely a powerful insight in thinking about our current system and our leaders. Thank you for bringing that to the table.
Yeah, I think we can all agree the media, if spent too much time on, can send everyone into a deepward spiral of doom and anxiety, because often good news about climate change is not shared. And instead we see like terrifying clickbait headlines. But like Ryan mentioned, I always hope that these headlines will kind of scare people into supporting the environmentalist movement. Anyway, one thing that has been circulating in my mind and also in the media is the ticking time before irreversible climate change. I saw an article about a newly installed climate clock in New York City that counts down the days, years, hours, minutes, and seconds left to curb greenhouse gas emissions enough to save the Earth, or give the Earth a 2/3 chance of staying below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Just now, before this presentation, I checked, and it was at 7 years, 91 days, 16 hours, 30 minutes, and change. But to me, the thought of 7 years is terrifying. You know, what has happened in the past 7 years to help climate change? Can we make enough feasible change within the next 7? So not to start off this session too dramatically and depressingly, but to be honest, that's something that's been on my mind in the news.
Yeah, that's wild to hear. 7 years from now, how old will you all be?
7 years from now, I would be 23. Yeah.
So not too far out. Thank you for bringing that perspective, Summer. It is, a lot of the news we hear is doom and gloom, right? A lot of the news we see is negativity and things that are not so positive sometimes. And in thinking about that and thinking about those negative things or the bad news that we see on the media on a regular, have you all experienced climate anxiety or just anxiety in general? And how has that impacted you or your community?
Talking about what we were saying in response to the first question, I think that a lot of young people, including myself, have experienced climate anxiety. I know I and many of my peers experience climate anxiety from feeling like we are not doing enough for climate change or that we feel like we are part of the problem. Climate anxiety is something that a lot of other generations haven't had to really face, especially at such a young age. Oftentimes they can feel overwhelming, like you're not doing enough to ensure your own future, or that there's no hope for saving the environment. I think that's where activism and changing your own lifestyle and perspective can help you and maybe others that may feel the same way about climate and their own anxiety about it.
Thank you, Ryan.
Climate anxiety is a very real mental illness in which more than half of teens have reported feeling some form of it. For me and some of my peers that I've talked to, it's about the amount of pressure that we feel, that we've inherited this major climate crisis, and it's all on us to be the voices of change and invent a new era. All of us are the next world leaders, trailblazers, CEOs, and along with that is the voice constantly telling us to be better and to change the world. It's so much pressure to be under. Also, we are the generation that will make the choices in the next 10 to 20 years that will determine the way our world will look for the next 500. As Summer was saying about the climate clock, we are on a literal timer. Pretty much to save the planet in the upcoming years will be the tipping point and our last chance to make sure the scales tilt to the desired side. It's like an alarm clock that wakes you up 7 years before it goes off, and our responsibility is to listen to that sound and react with change.
Thank you, Nate.
So, I mean, it's clear that a lot of the younger generation has this pressure to be a perfect steward of the earth and right the wrongs of the past. But I think also within the environmental sphere, there's a huge pressure of individuals to fix climate change. This pressure is really toxic and sometimes unproductive because besides being mentally really harmful, it also deflects attention away from the responsibility that corporations and politicians have to make meaningful change. So instead of environmentalists and young people bearing the brunt of climate anxiety, I think the pressure should be really directed towards people in power. Another part of climate anxiety that should be acknowledged is how it affects different groups. This terminology is relatively new, although it's been around for a while, and many of us have had the privilege for this to be a new feeling. However, for some, it's been a constant in their lives, just being, growing up next to polluting factories or living in areas with terrible air quality. And I think it's great how environmental racism has really been highlighting these inequalities. And it really just goes back to putting pressure on policy to change and protect these marginalized groups instead of them being forced to experience climate anxiety every day.
Thank you so much for that perspective. Earlier we heard a lot of different presentations about equity in Marin and the disproportionate impact that communities of color, especially marginalized communities, are facing, not just in Marin County, but throughout the world, right? So it's really important to bring that perspective and think about climate anxiety as not a new thing for some communities, but it's an ongoing thing for many. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, this is good, y'all. This is really powerful. I'm feeling inspired, but I want to hear more. So you all shared a lot about, the pressure you feel, right? The pressure that the youth have on their shoulders to do better, to do different, to make change happen. And thinking about all the environmental issues that we face, what are some issues within the environmental spectrum that interests you the most?
A topic within the environmental field would definitely be how agriculture and food systems relate to the environment and how they will become more sustainable in the future. Right now, I'm planning on pursuing a career in agriculture with the goal of helping create and put into place systems that are more sustainable. I'm interested in agriculture and food systems because I know how big of an impact agriculture has on the environment and the fact that agriculture is super necessary. We need agriculture to be efficient, and as other people have said to previous questions, we need to have these people in power understand its impacts on the environment with realistic solutions prepared for minimizing its negative impact. This is necessary for creating a more sustainable country and world, but we need more people to create these solutions and put them into place. There are so many issues that need a solution, such as fixing California's dependency on groundwater, solutions for eutrophication from over-fertilization, and soil degradation. We need more people to create these solutions, and I hope to be one in the future.
And I'm sure you are going to be, Ryan. Looking forward to what career path you take in that. Thank you.
Personally, I'm extremely fascinated with the range of biodiversity that roams the earth. It's breathtaking, the medley of organisms that inhabit our world. From a blue whale to a single prokaryotic cell, life is fascinating and precious. But unfortunately, what's even more eerily astonishing is how human behaviors are causing a massive die-off at a rate of up to 150 species every day going extinct. There are many causes of this pending ecological apocalypse, and of course, most of them are human-induced. Years of pollution and disease and invasive species and direct human interaction are all major causes of our waning biodiversity. But I think the most potent is habitat destruction, because every day 200,000 acres of rainforest are slashed and burned with little sign of cool down. 20% of the entire Amazon rainforest has already been destroyed. That's 424,800 square miles of land previously home to thousands of vibrant species gone. 50% of the world's coral reefs, an ecosystem responsible for 25% of the planet's biodiversity, has been bleached or destroyed, and the rest could follow. We are in the midst of a human-induced mass extinction, and little is to be done about it. And that is just so frightening to me.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that to light. Part of our discussions earlier were about the work that OneTam does within biodiversity and thinking about the WPI project and monitoring species within the mountain and the importance of that, right? Because we're losing so much at a huge rate, it's really important to see what we have and what's still, doable to save and to continue to conserve. So thank you for bringing that perspective, Nate.
So for me, something that I'm passionate about within the environmental movement is climate education and how it shapes how we look at evaluating and solving current issues. So I took AP Environmental Science in high school. It was a survey course, so we didn't go super in depth in a particular area. My teacher was really just focusing on covering the curriculum outlined by the College Board. We did some case studies, but in my opinion, didn't do a great job addressing the importance of incorporating social and ethical responsibility into addressing and solving climate issues. At the end of each unit, we reflected a little bit on solutions, but it often came from a very westernized traditional perspective. Many of the solutions that were proposed had to do with telling less developed countries that their practices are unsustainable and it's their fault destroying the natural habitat. And this is coming, or like, for example, what Nate was talking about with deforestation of the Amazon, we're blaming them for ruining it. But when you think about it, the US owns many of the corporations that are investing in this deforestation, and we are benefiting directly from the bad things that we accuse them of doing. So in general, I just think we need to reevaluate blame and shift our perspective to think more holistically beyond just economic growth and capital gain within like the education sphere.
Adding on to that, it's also how us in the United States, we can look at which companies are investing in deforestation and where we choose to spend our money and bring it up to those companies and raise awareness and activism.
Yeah, also about what Summer said about the education system. At my high school, I'm in this program called CDISC, and it's mostly an environmental science-based program, but it focuses a lot on social science and environmental racism and providing those multiple perspectives to what Summer was talking about a simply westernized view of the climate crisis. And I think that's very important because we all need to have these conversations about what's really going on, providing multiple perspectives than what is just taught in the average AP environmental science course.
Thank you all for bringing that perspective. That is really powerful because, part of what our goal with this symposium throughout the symposium is to really bring in that other side of the story, right? And share those perspectives that we often don't hear about so much, and see, the intersectionality across all these issues, whether it's race, equity, or the environment. All these pieces, they all overlap, and they all impact our communities and the natural environment. So thank you for bringing that perspective. So friends, take a deep breath. This is heavy. This is a lot. And, like I said, I feel incredibly privileged to work with you all and continue to learn from you all and get inspired from you all. So the last question I have for you, in thinking about all that we've shared and thinking about how heavy this all is, and, like Summer said, thinking about the perspective of who's responsible and shifting that perspective, it's a lot to handle on your own, and it's a lot to handle for one individual person. So what role do you see yourself playing? Knowing that there's many other folks doing work, what role do you see yourself playing within the environmental movement?
The way I see myself within the environmentalist movement, as a 16-year-old, I see myself just trying to educate myself and others, and also using my voice to speak up about environmental concerns. Something that I think is really interesting about my generation is that a lot of us are concerned about the environment and are willing to make changes and speak up about concerns of the environment. The way I see the environmentalist movement would be as a group of people, each with their own voice, providing support for one another. I see myself within this group, and I see everyone else on this Zoom as part of that group.
In the environmental movement, I want to be a voice. I want to educate myself, and I want to have a strong opinion and a space to share that. I want to be able to educate others as much as I can, but in order to do that, I want to learn everything there is to know about the subject. Misinformation is a very dangerous thing. We see it in the media, within interpersonal conversation, and all over social media. When misinformation gets out of hand, it can be very dangerous. In my future, I hope to not only be an educator, but also a researcher finding that raw information and spreading what I hope to be nothing but the truth. I hope to be on the front lines of resisting climate change to protect our planet's beauty and diversity. And I hope to have a part in cleaning up the mess that we have found ourselves in. And I'm sure everybody else on this panel would agree with that.
One way I see myself fitting into this movement is by educating myself and learning. I'm currently studying business and the intersectionality with environmental sustainability practices. I think that that's definitely a shift that's going to happen among many different fields and integrating more sustainability practices into all like principles. Another way I see myself involved is educating myself on policy. I turned 18 this year, which means that I can vote. I'm very excited. I'm just trying to use my voice to affect policy locally and nationally. And I think another good way to be involved is being in groups like Link or this youth panel. I think honest discussion like this and involvement within my community has inspired me so much and opened my eyes to all the good work that is being done around us. This also personally helps me fight against the climate anxiety that we were talking about earlier and really uplifts me to keep working since we've all identified this goal of saving the earth and working together as a collective to reach it.
Wow, I'm so inspired. I don't even know how to end this, but thank you all so much. This is really good for, our audience to hear, for the folks behind the camera to listen in and hear from the youth and from one of the most powerful voices in this movement. Before we end, we do have a little bit of time for Q&A. So if the audience has questions for our participants, please put them in the Q&A chat box and we'll try to answer a few. Thank you, team. See, Janet, are you moderating questions?
I am having
It's
technical
okay.
difficulties, and I'm turning orange again. So far, most everything that I am seeing is just deepest appreciation and thanks for your participation. And here's the first question. When did you first learn about climate change? Was it school, family, from the media? And thank you for being so inspiring.
That's a really good question. I don't even think I can remember. It was definitely when I was in elementary school, maybe 4th or 5th grade. I think it was a mixture of everything. So I might have first heard it from my teacher talking about it, seen it in the media, and just I was really interested in why we're not talking about this more and why I never heard of it. So yeah.
It's kind of funny for me. The first time I was really kind of taught about climate change is when my 2nd grade teacher said that she didn't believe in climate change. And me and my friend, we were walking home and we talked to my mom and we were like, yeah, our teacher said climate change isn't real. Like we kind of knew the term, we didn't really know much about it. And then ever since the conversation we had after that, I just wanted to know more and more and more.
Well, Nate, that really just brings back to what we were saying about, environmental education. Clearly, that's lacking. I think for me, I grew up as a vegetarian in my house, so I think it's kind of always been in the back of my mind. I think also in elementary school, like Ryan was saying, I remember looking at the news and learning about the hurricanes and not really understanding what caused it, but we all knew it was bad and we knew it was going to get worse. And now here we are.
Okay. What's one thing that you wish your parents or your grandparents would do for climate change action?
This one is a very hard question for me because my parents won't let me not eat red meat, so I kind of want to go pescatarian just for the environment, but they won't let me. That's really hard. Also, I come from a family of farmers, and the way they farm is very old school, and I know it's really hard to convert to sustainable agriculture, and it's kind of impossible for them to do it at such a big scale. And I feel like I want them to learn more and for them to care a little bit more.
Yeah, I kind of want my parents and my grandparents, I want them to talk to other people that they can relate to about climate issues and basically spread the word, because there's a big portion of this country that is either doesn't believe in climate change or is misinformed or just underinformed. I think a lot of the youth talks about it. That's a lot. It's focused, the climate movement education is mostly focused on youth, but I think it's just as important with our parents and grandparents. So I hope that they talk about it too, as much as we are.
I just hope, climate deniers or, skeptics are on this panel or like listening to this presentation because I think they're more open to listening to youth and hearing direct experience rather than like what's on the news. So just more honest conversation and discussion and just being more open-minded. I think that's really the key.
Thanks, team. So we're going to transition a little just because we have one more thing for you, for the audience. So before we end, we have one more thing for you.
We want to end this discussion with hearing all of your voices. So we have a question for you.
What are you willing to do to ensure that we have a future? Big question.
And go ahead and put your your responses in the chat box. And we will play some music for you as you meditate on that. Let me know if it's too loud. And Nate or Ryan, Summer, if any of the answers catch your attention, feel free to read them out loud.
I like calling voters and mobilizing. Turnout youth vote. I think that's great and very relevant right now.
Yeah.
I really love the comment that says, like teaching my kids about all these problems and encouraging them to make a difference.
Yes.
I like answers about sustainability and eating right.
Ooh, I like the buy less stuff. Yes, get away from buying more stuff.
I think that's really big. A lot of people have been tricked into this like consumer culture of buying really sustainable goods, but the best thing to do for the environment is just buy less stuff.
Stop buying. Ooh, check out that one. Pressure corporations through protest and barnacles are left. Direct action. Yeah, right. Thinking about who's responsible. Not really who's more at blame for these issues, but who's responsible at a large for making a lot of these solutions happen. And it really comes from the the folks that have the most power in all of these. Oh, supporting collaborators like OneTam, yes.
It's great seeing all of these. I think this is really easing, some of the climate anxiety that many of the youth feel. Getting this support from older generations and just from everyone makes it seem less intimidating and overwhelming.
Yes. And Janet, feel free to give us a time check because we'll just hang out all day here.
I'm in the same space right now. I'm just kind of like soaking it all in right now.
I'll check that one out, Ryan, for regenerative ranching.
I'm definitely gonna look it up.
What time did we say we were going to end this thing?
We're going to end at 12. Well, we can end right now, but we got one more thing, one last thing for y'all. So thank you all so much for joining Oh, let me turn our music off. Sorry. Thank you so much, students. Thank you so much, Summer, Ryan, Nate. We really, truly couldn't wrap this up, wrap this day in a better way than just hearing your voices and the power behind it. So thank you so much for joining us. Some of these kiddos have midterms right before this presentation, and some of them have midterms right after this presentation. So thank you so much for your time. And then in just regards for the audience, again, I lead the youth programs at OneTam, and I want to leave you with a shout out for one of our newest programs, where we are facilitating the Rising Environmental Youth Leaders. It is a year-round high school internship, similar to LINK, where the LINK students that you see on the screen, they participated in the summer. This internship is year-round. It is climate change focused, youth leadership focused, all the things that we're talking about right now. And the exciting part about a lot of the funding for that program is coming from Marin County Parks to help work with those underserved communities that we talked about earlier. So we're doing a lot of targeted outreach to Canal Alliance area and to Marin City. So share it wide, pass it forward, and we're really trying to get to those students that need it the most. So the link is in the chat, and share it with your networks. Youth, do you want to share anything else before we close out?
Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to our perspectives and what we have to say.
And I think I'm saying this on behalf of so many of the folks who are here today. Just thank you guys for your participation and stepping forward in this way. It's really important.